Hello, everybody. This is Coach Anthony Pratley coming to you again for another pistol spread option offensive video. Want to talk a little bit more about the blocking scheme here in the pistol spread option offense. Really, this is what brings us so much ability to get into different plays and different schemes because of what we do with our blocking scheme. Simple blocking rules. I want to go through those today, give you a chance to understand what it is that we do and how we call what we call. Today's video, we're only going to focus in on the zone blocking rules. This is how we're going to block our zone play. I know it sounds crazy, but we really do only have about 5 or 6 plays total. We use 2 schemes, a zone scheme and a power scheme, and then we have our pass blocking rules, and that's our entire offense. So let's get into the zone blocking rules today. I want to go through a quick video of you on how we do it. We use a very simple zone scheme. It's not really a zone blocking scheme in the truest sense of the word. We are really a hybrid zone scheme. We use a very simple rule to explain to people how we're going to teach this. So for our kids, we keep it simple. If you're covered or if you're uncovered. So originally I said covered and uncovered, pretty simple. But as I went through my coaching career, I realized that you can't take anything for granted, never assume anything. So I had to explain what covered meant. So for us, covered is meaning that there is a person on you. In other words, if you can reach out and touch anyone on the defensive line, if you're an offensive lineman and you can reach out and touch somebody, that is considered covered. So there's a couple of different ways that we consider covered. The first is our outside shade. So if I am the center and I am looking at number 75, the defensive tackle here, or the one technique, I can reach out and touch him. That is an outside shade if I'm running to the right. I've got a head up. If I'm a guard here, here's number 75. He's head up on the guard this time. So can I reach out and touch him? Yes, he's right there. He's head up. And then we could have an inside shade. So if I'm the center and I've got a number 64 to my inside, if the play's going to the right and I've got an inside shade, then I would have number 64 here. I can still reach out and touch him, but he's to my inside. So 3 scenarios, really that simple. You've got an outside shade, you've got a head up, or an inside shade. So let's talk about them really quick. The outside shade, we're looking at that center. So in this particular case, the center would be trying to go and reach that covered lineman. What we do is we teach play side number. So in other words, I'm going to go back through this. If a lineman is covered, he means he can reach out and touch him. He's got a threat to his body. Then we will block the play side number. And that's exactly how we teach it. Those are the terminologies we use. If you're covered, you block the play side number. And we repeat it over and over and over again for our kids. If you're covered, what do? You block the play side number. If you're covered, what do? You block the play side number. Now, what does that mean? Again, this is, you make a rule and there's always a kid that comes along to break the rule. But what that means is if we're running to the right and I'm blocking number 75, I would be blocking his 5. I would be putting my hands on the number 5. Of course, I had someone that said, hey, if I'm running to the left, am I blocking the 7? I said, yes, that is correct. If I'm blocking to the left, I would be trying to get my hands on the 7. And then I had a player come up and go, Coach, well, what if he's number 9? Okay, use your imagination, buddy. Block the right side of his jersey then instead of the number. So, I mean, again, there's always rules and there's always exceptions. But for us, this is just the easiest way to teach it. If you're covered, you block the play side number. It's that simple. So for us, a head up, I've got my guard. I'm going to block his play side number. That's the number 4. My center does not have a play side number. We'll talk about that later. And then my guard has a play side number, the 5. For the inside shade, my left guard is going to be reaching to that number 4. He's going to try to block the 4 on his jersey. The center we'll talk about in a moment. And then the guard here is going to be reaching for that number 5, that play side number, to control that play side number. What we're trying to do is we're trying to overcome that number. We're trying to overtake their body so that we can run to the right. In other words, I want to try to prevent him from getting to where we want to run the ball, which is to the right. So that's what we use our covered explanation, meaning if you can reach out and touch him, there's a threat to your body, then you are covered. So we give you a few scenarios here: outside shade, the head up, and then the inside shade. So let's go back to our zone blocking rules again. We've talked about uncovered. What we haven't talked about is, we talked about covered. What we haven't talked about is uncovered. So what does uncovered mean? It's really as simple as it sounds. If you can't reach out and touch anybody, if there's no one as an immediate threat to your body as a down lineman, you are considered uncovered. In this particular case, my center would be uncovered. The guard is covered because he can reach out and touch the down tackle. The center is not covered. He has no one to reach out and touch. The guard would be covered because he can reach out and touch the down tackle number 75. So we have an uncovered rule, the same as we had a covered rule. And we teach it exactly this way in this terminology. We repeat it over and over again, similar to our covered rule. Our uncovered rule is we are going to block the play side gap. We're going to double team the first down lineman if we can find one. If not, we go to the next level. Let me repeat that again. We are going to block the play side gap, the first down lineman, and then we're going to work up to the second level. So let me explain that. In this particular case, the guard is covered, so he would be doing his normal covered rules, which is block the play side number, the number 4. The other guard is covered. He's going to be doing his play side number, which is the number 5. The center, however, is not covered. So he would go through this progression. Again, I'm going to repeat it one more time, and we do it over and over and over again so it becomes memory. You're uncovered. You block the play side gap, the first down lineman, and then the second level. You work your way up to the second level. So what the center is going to do on this is we animate. You're going to see that the guard is blocking that play side number. The center works to that play side gap, first down lineman, and then he works his way up to the second level. In other words, if 75 disappears to the outside, he really doesn't have a first down lineman anymore. So he blocked his gap. There was no threat to the gap. He looked for the first down lineman, and 75 got out of his way and went away. So now he's just going to work himself up to the second level. If 75 were to go into the play side gap, in other words, the 75 is going to go into the A gap, then the center would take him, and the guard would work his way up to the second level. So what we've done is we've created a way to teach double teams. We've taught how we're going to double team in a zone scheme with simple rules. Again, if you're covered, you block the play side number. If you are uncovered, you're going to block the play side gap, first down lineman, and then you're going to work your way up to the second level. That is our entire zone blocking scheme, literally from beginning to end. If you're covered, you block the play side number. If you're uncovered, you block the play side gap, first down lineman, second level. Really that simple. All right, now let's talk about a couple of other tips and tricks. So that's the simplicity of the pistol spread option offense and our zone blocking scheme. But some of these tips and tricks that I always like to teach, the first one is the lineman steps. Now, what we do with the PSO is we keep things very consistent across the board. I teach my lineman steps the same way I teach my running back steps, my quarterback steps, my wide receiver steps, my tight end steps, etc., etc., etc. We have an on step, a gap step, a reach step, and a pull step. So what do those mean? I am going to do an on step, which means my foot is going straight forward. So if I'm always going to step with my play side foot. So if I'm running to the right, my right foot would go straight ahead of me, straight forward. That is called an on step. All right. In our case, the on step is used when I've got a backside shade. So I'm still covered. I can still reach out and touch him. And all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to beat his foot to the gap. So if I'm running to the right, I don't really have to step too far because I'm already in the gap. So I'm just going to step straight ahead with what we call an on step. So the example here is I have this on step with my center. He is going to block straight ahead with that on step, and that would allow my guard to pull or double team or whatever else the guard needed to do. An example of that, so again, if I'm running to the right, the on step is my right foot would be stepping straight ahead. 6-inch steps, but we're going to use an on step, which means I'm going to go straight ahead. That is what we refer to as an on step in the PSO. The second one is a gap step, which is a 45-degree angle with your play side foot. So what does that look like? That gap step would be a 45-degree angle with your right foot. You don't want to go too far. Again, it's 6 inches because you don't want to bring your left foot back to meet them. So that is an example of when we would use this as a head up. So my guard in this case has a head up player. He's going to take a 45-degree gap step. And the reason he's going to do that is because he wants to beat that player to the gap to the right. So he's trying to beat that player to the play side. So that gap step, he would take that 45-degree angle, and we'd be blocking the number 4, that play side number. All right, the third type of step we teach is a reach step. And this is almost completely sideways. Now I have a shaded defender. So if I'm the guard in this particular case, I've got a shade to my right. I'm going to take a almost lateral step, and then I'm going to work my way up to beat that play side number. Why do I have to do that? Because I'm going to the right. He's already to the right, and I'm just trying to beat his foot. In other words, I want to get my right foot outside of his foot so that I can control that line of scrimmage and I can reach him. So I would use a reach step in this case where I'm trying to beat that number 4 to the play. So what does the reach step look like? Again, it's almost a complete sideways step, but we're going to move forward a little bit more. Don't go more than 6 inches because you don't want to lose your balance, but you're moving sideways first and forward second. And that is what we call our reach step. So the on step is straight ahead, the gap step is 45 degree, and then the reach step is where we're going to almost 90 degrees, almost completely sideways, but a little bit forward. The last one is the pull step. Now, we don't really particularly care how you do this. If you're going to pull like on a play called power, or if you're going to pull on a trap or something like that, a lot of people teach that the rocker step to go back, a pull step. We just use a basic pull step, which means I am going to try to get to the butt crack of the lineman that I'm replacing, and I'm going to do that basic pull step. So I'm going to be pulling across and replacing the center. I'm just going to get into his path. I'm going to let him go first, and I'm going to get behind him, almost like a little delay step, if you will, for our pull step. So that is it. Now, I said I teach this to my running backs, my quarterbacks, and my wide receivers. It is exactly the same conversation. Your first step on a pass, if you're running a passing route, you might use a gap step because you want to step to the right and then come back to the left. So we use these same things consistently throughout, so our kids know what a gap step is, an on step is, a reach step is. What's also fun is in film, when our O-lineman makes a mistake, my wide receivers can say, hey man, you didn't use your on step. You should have used an on step there, not a gap step. They know each other's situations, they know each other's techniques, which is kind of fun in the film room. And it goes both ways. So then the lineman can say, hey, wide receiver, why didn't you use your reach step on that one? You should have used the reach step and then cut back across, blah, blah, blah. You get the general idea. So a lot of fun for us with our steps in the PSO. So last but not least, we've talked about those steps. I want to get to the read the knee. Now, this is something that we talk about all the time when we want to make sure we have our hands on the block and our eyes on the backer. I want to make sure that I am going to be controlling my down lineman first and then looking to that second level second. So I am going to control that down lineman with my hands. I'm going to keep my hands on my block, that play side number, and I'm going to keep my eyes on the backer. We're essentially reading the knee. So if that down lineman's knee goes away from me, then I'm not terribly worried because I'm going play side. I'm just going to make sure I control him with my hands, and I'll look up to the second level. If that guy comes straight at me, I'm going to control him with my hands, make sure I get to the right, and then look for the second level. If that knee goes away from me, meaning in other words, he's going to be running to the play side, now I've really got to make a big reach step and beat him to that gap. So that's what we call reading the knee. We're really looking at the knees of that down lineman, and whichever way that knee goes is the direction that player is going to go. And we want to make sure we have our hands on our block and our eyes on the backer, or the safety in this case. We're looking for a second level player. Hands on block, eyes on backer is the terminology that we use. So I hope you've enjoyed our basic zone scheme blocking rules. Again, it's very, very, very simple. We're going to do play side number if we're covered. And again, covered means reach out and touch, whether it's a backside shade, whether it's a head up shade, or whether it's a play side shade. If you're covered, you would block the play side number. If you're uncovered, meaning I can't reach out and touch anyone, I'm going to go play side gap, first down lineman, and then I'm going to look for the second level. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about our blocking scheme. Again, that is our zone scheme. In our next series of videos, I will walk through the zone read option and some of our other zone plays that we can use with this zone blocking scheme. Thanks for joining us. As always, make sure you hit like and comment, share, but really a great opportunity to share this pistol spread option offense with the rest of the world. Have a great day. Thanks for joining.